I was looking at some YouTube shorts and I have stumbled on some video of cats running around the wheel. It looked quite fun. It seemed that the cats were enjoying that activity. My cat Suna, which is a ragdoll breed, is quite an active cat and does run quite a lot, so I have looked into buying one, but the options were usually quite pricey and also really small radius, which can actually hurt your cat due to bad posture. So I have decided to make one myself. Initially, I thought about buying cheaper materials, and the design would consist of two circles made of plastic pipe and some plastic sheet ring, which would act as the base. I could not find large enough flexible sheets for the main running part, so I bought some acrylic sheets and then went drilled them into the outer circles. The result was quite sad. It was really wobbly and not even at all. For the second attempt, instead of drilling into the outer circles, I printed some brackets. During that process, I learned to print in stacks, like breakout parts. The results were still quite wobbly, the wheel was slanted and not concentric, which led it to falling from the carriage. So I identified the main things which I need to account for is concentricity, which was really important, and using manual cutting is not an option as I cannot ensure the concentricity of the wheels, and rigidity. In this case, the previous option had none of it. So a bit later, I revisited the project. I looked through the examples of how wheels are made. They were usually made from either molded plastic or some cut wood. In this case, I selected laser cutting process for the outer wheels, and for the inner circle, I just thought of using just basic wood panels. I used Onshape to design the wheel. It consisted of outer ring and inner ring. Inner ring is just square panels with some holes in the corners, and the outer ring is some arcs which would interlace with each other an alternating way, so it would be quite rigid and stable. It used 6 millimeter plywood. Initially I thought I could be just gluing them, but after some consideration I thought using screws would be enough. So that's why it has multiple holes. And another thing about this design is that each part is identical, which means assembly is extremely easy. I just need to connect the wheels together. I don't need to worry about orientation. I don't need to worry about which one should be inner part, which should be outer part. To make the wheel actually aligned and not slanted, I 3D printed a guide to drill in the corners and then used wooden dowels to connect all of the pieces. The cutting was quite long process, though we do have quite limited cutting range. I could only cut about 6 parts at a time, and then I just drilled the holes, connected, and here you can see the result. Initial testing, initial assembly, which was way better than before. You can see it actually wobbles fairly nicely, looks fairly rigid and strong. And when it was ready, I assembled it like half and half because I needed to transport it and I could not fit a bigger one, so I would not be able to fit the full wheel in my car. To hold the wheel in place and make it move, I used some cheap caster wheels and some bearings drilled into the side, so the bearings would hold from the outer side and the caster wheels would hold it from the inner side. The bearings and the caster wheels needed to be tangent to the rotation so it would not be sliding too much. Here you can see the full assembly of the wheel. It became quite a bit large, so later I bought some doormats which I glued over the inner circle. And after a bit of training with wet treats, Sona started using it. Yeah, after using a bit of treats, she started using it on her own. What I did notice that it was quite loud and there was quite a lot of friction, which you can see from this video. She is like not able to turn it fully, only just in some periods. Though she seemed to be quite enjoying it. Yeah, at the start I needed to do some assistance for her to move, and I noticed from time to time the wheel would actually fall off. Later, remove the inner wheels. This did improve the both loudness and both efficiency. To combat the slippage from the sides, I added the wooden dowels to the sides and thought also adding the bearings. Later, I did notice that actually the bearings also were making quite a lot of sound, quite a lot of friction. After that, I removed the bearings. While Suna was running, I also used some sanding paper on the sides. I also replaced the cheap caster wheels with a steel rod and some roller skate wheels, which improved the efficiency even more. I also noticed that she was in the risk of pinching her tail, so I added some protection from the acrylic sheets used in the previous version. And here you can see she is walking around fairly nicely. And the sound the wheel making is also quite lower. So at the time, it does not even bother when she is also walking on it at night. Look at her go! Thanks for watching!